Aum Sri Ram, and welcome back to My Sai in 100 Years of Sai. Our next guest joined the Sri Sathya Sai organization back in 2008 and has been a devotee of the Sri Sathya Sai Center Hillside ever since. He graduated as a Balvikas Guru and currently serves as our center's education convener. In the past, he has also taken on the role of a Seva convener. Amongst his fondest memories of Prashanti Nilayam are joining the pilgrimage decor team in 2010 and renewing his wedding vows in a beautiful ceremony in 2015, marking 20 years of marriage with Swami's blessings. Please join me in welcoming Br Gino Subadu. Aum Sai Ram, Br Gino.
Aum Sai Ram, Brother Dineshwar.
So, Br Gino, let's start at the beginning. How did Swami come into your life?
Brother Dineshwar, I think unknowingly, Swami has always been in my life. Brother Devan and I actually worked for the same electrical company years ago. And it was on weekends, he had then joined the organization. But on weekends, he would ask me to assist in some seva projects that they've done. This was under the guidance of the late Dr. Gandhan, and I grabbed every opportunity, you can say, to do that. So I joined them on the weekends, and it was amazing to see the fun, the laughter, the joy that was amongst the sevadals. And this is actually what drew me closer to them even more, right? So after joining them for Seva, it was Uncle Krish. I remember it was Uncle Krish that asked me the question, or asked me, now that we've joined them for Seva, that we needed to join them for satsang on a Thursday. So I told him, Uncle Krish, you know what? Hey, I think it's going to be difficult. But on a Thursday, because I've got karate lessons with these boys, and he says, no, you don't worry. Uncle Krish was, when he wants to, in a very convincing way, and he wants to get his message across, he came out a little louder. He says, you know what? Swami will take care of them. He will protect them. You don't worry. So what I've done, it was July 2007, just after the third term into July 2007, I joined my boys into Balvikas. So they started off Balvikas first, and in 2008, January, my wife and I joined the Sai organization, and our spiritual journey began then.
Definitely, Seva is one of the things Swami began the organization with. That's the fundamental. So definitely, it's amazing to see how Seva brought you into the fold.
Yeah.
Uncle Gino, Swami often said, life is a game played. It might not have been karate, right?
Yeah.
But what does that mean to you personally?
Well, personally, I think in a game, you've got to give it your best. You've got to stay focused, and in also giving your best and staying focused, you mustn't sort of cling to the outcome. Like a good player will never take defeat to heart. Similarly, Swami actually encourages us to live life with sincerity, with love, with unity, and not clinging to any attachments or the outcomes of that. So he reminds us also not to take life so seriously, otherwise we lose our joy and faith, and even with games as well, you have challenges, and in life you have challenges, right? So the thing is, they train us. These challenges train us, but they shouldn't define us, right? So in the Bhagavad Gita, it tells you, quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, it says, do your duty and don't worry about the fruits. Right? So for me, Swami's message is very clear in the sense of life is a game, play it, is that we should live life fully, with courage, with love, detachment, and lightness, right? Knowing that ultimately the game is for finding or awakening the divinity within us,
Yes.
and not for collecting trophies.
Brother Gino,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about. I'd love to hear about that first time you saw Swami in his physical form. Like, what was that moment like for you?
Well, before I take you there, let me just take you where we started off from, right? In 2009, my family and I were blessed to visit Prashanti, right? This was for around the Navaratri period, Dasara. So we went together with about 9 devotees from our center. And that was including our very own Auntie Pushpa. She was super fit then. She would never take the escalators. She would rather take the stairs in the Dubai airports, in any airport that we came across, that we landed in, right? And I was actually amazed watching her take these flights of stairs and not take the escalators. So we arrived at Bangalore, but only to find that our luggage hadn't come through, and it was still in South Africa. So, and we inquired, and they told us our luggage is only coming the next day. So what we did, we stayed in Bangalore that night, but around midday we went to the airport. Luckily, our luggage had come, and we fetched our luggage. We made a trip to Mysore, spent a little bit of time there, and then we made it just in time for evening darshan in Prashanti, right? So when we got to Prashanti, the Sevadals opened up the main gate. Because there was 9 of us, we had like a minibus.
Okay.
Everybody, it was such a good feeling traveling together and singing Swami's joys, the bhajans, and having fun in that bus. And when we came to Prashanti, it was like even better. As we drove into the gates, got to the gates, Sevadals let us in. Just a little bit into the gates, we told the driver, please stop, because we could see what was happening. Swami was actually on the dais, right? We couldn't see Swami yet, but we could see what was going to happen, because the Sevadals, the devotees started waking up and even, because we made it just in time. So we got the driver to stop. We all of us got out of there excitedly. And then it was then, for the first time, I saw Swami. It was a distance from where we were to the dais, but Brother Dineshan, I could see Swami in his physical form for the first time, just gliding across the dais. And it was such a beautiful feeling. And then, as I mentioned, just in time for darshan, he raised his 2 hands, and then we excitedly took our darshan for the first time. And that was mine.
The feeling was the same from even afar.
Yeah, even from afar. The energy, it was amazing. It was amazing. You could just feel that energy when you're standing there.
And you definitely made it a challenge before you could arrive there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, to make it worthy. Yeah.
Brother Gino, within the Sai fold, we have many of us have moments of deep devotion, but also light-hearted joy.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny or light moments you can think of?
I'll tell you what. I just love every moment that it's light and funny when we get together and we prepare for an event or for an occasion or function or whatever it is. When all the devotees get together, we work in unity. There's so much of fun. There's so much of laughter that goes on. I just feel blessed to be part. Especially, I notice with Hillside, I'm blessed to be part of Hillside, and knowing the unity that exists and everybody coming together to prepare for these functions. But what I can tell you is, I also love when we have our social gatherings, our social events, like the master chef that we've had recently, just after COVID kind of thing. COVID stopped us from doing things like that for a while, but after COVID, we decided to have the master chef. And funny enough, I was paired, I don't know how to cook so well, but I was paired with somebody else that didn't know how to cook. So the thing is, what do? We got together and we discussed it, and we said, hey, how are we going to do it? I mean, it's too short time to learn to cook anyway. So Brother Sunil, with his very wise idea, came up that, you know what, let's learn a dance instead. So what we did, we learned the lungi dance.
Yes.
So he taught us the lungi dance. And believe it or not, Brother Dineshwan, on the day we became winners. Not for the cook-off, but the best entertainers.
Definitely you had the dancing skills for that. Brother Gino, you are a Balvikas guru, and I mean you've guided many children over the years on their spiritual paths. Do you have maybe just one special moment that stands out amongst the rest?
Most definitely. There's plenty, but I'll probably mention one or two that I've experienced with him. Brother Dineshwan, firstly, I became a Balvikas guru because I wanted to learn more about Swami. And what better way it is than trying to teach and learn at the same time. So I've started off with the group ones, and I've had 2 Sai Blossoms, the 5-year-olds. So the group ones were 6-year-olds and the Sai Blossoms 5-year-olds. So I had a nice class. So we used to have our lessons, and I used to have a recap session, right? So get them all seated, and I'll tell them, you know what, right now we're going to do our question times, right? And you know what you'll need to do? You all need to give me the answers. So I remember one of the first questions was, right, where was Swami born? Everybody was just silenced. I said, do I have to give you all a clue? And I said, anyway, I'll give you all a clue. It starts with P, because them being
so small.
So one of them just jumped off their seats and said, I know, it's Pumalanga. Brother Dinesh, I found that so funny. I tell you, I just burst out laughing, but I just couldn't contain myself. I had to laugh with him. So carrying on, and it was another session that where I had a question. So I said, what's Lord Ganesha's favorite thing he likes to eat? And then again, I know. So thinking that they know again, one actually said pizza. So it was pizza.
Yeah.
So, but besides all that, there with the class lessons and stuff, I think the best ever is trying to rehearse with them during Swami's birthday celebrations. Because the Balvikas children always do a play for Swami's birthday. We'll be sitting out there watching them doing thousands of takes, and somehow, I don't know, between the gurus, it was like an air-tearing period for us. But believe it or not, on Swami's birthday, they are doing the best performance ever. Between you and I, we know that Swami takes over. And the children, every time they've got standing ovations. And we were just so filled. After that, gurus get together and we say, what happened?
Yes.
But we know what happened. Swami just takes over. Yeah.
I think the children are very special. They always put us under a lot of pressure and stress, but on the day they really deliver.
Yeah, definitely.
So the thing about the child answering about Pumalanga, I mean, in their own way, they understand Swami is omniscient. He's everywhere, so he could have also been born.
Exactly. Yeah, sure.
Uncle Gino, can you share an experience, personally with Bhagawan that became a life-changing point for you?
Definitely. This is a little bit of a more serious one. in the sense that on Sai Avatar Day, October 20th, 2024, right? This was actually last year. Yeah, the most recent one, right? I was working in Newcastle with a project, and on that day it was cold. It was rainy. It was cold. It was like there was thunderstorms. It was dark. Durban experienced the same weather as well. So I got back after work. I was tired. We went back to the accommodation. I decided to take rest. So I laid my head down on the pillow and knocked off. I think it was we got back about 4:30, 4:45, and about half an hour later, I get a phone call, and I can hear this phone is ringing now. I just got up in a shock, took the phone, answered the phone, and it was from a tow truck driver. He asked me, "Are your Cameron's dead?" So I said, "Yes, I'm Cameron's dad." I said, "Why?" He says, "No, your son has been involved in a serious accident." So I said, "What?" And I just I just froze, because me being so far away, my hands was literally tied that I couldn't get there on time to see what's happening. And I didn't know what, I just froze, and I didn't know what to ask him. I put the phone down, I phoned him back, I asked him, "Is Cameron okay?" And I could hear in the background that my son was battling. He says, "You know what, it's serious." So I put the phone down and started making phone calls. And I've got my brother-in-law, my brother, and everybody that I thought of. I told them, "Please go to the site." The site was actually just after Chatswood, like if you're coming, it was in the Unit 10 park as such. And the car actually landed on a tree, right? Landed on a tree. So when they got there, they were stunned as well. They couldn't believe the condition of the car. Well, it was beyond repairs. And the way the car was sitting, the roof literally down to the doors and stuff like that. And it was, and with me at that point, I've got some details from them, but they didn't want to tell me everything. So I packed up everything that I could on that in Newcastle, got my guys together, and I told them, "You know what, let's go, we're going back to Durban now." It was just after 5, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, or maybe just after 6 as well, getting everything together and leaving for Durban in that condition. The weather was terrible, it was miserable, you couldn't really drive. And the guys told me, I worked with some other guys, they told me, "Hey, please just be careful. Why don't you go in the morning at least?" I said, no, I got to be in Durban now. The nation, all I can remember is chanting Swami's name as I took off, literally 4.5 hours kind of thing, because it's about 4.5 hours. It took us literally 5 hours to get to Durban from Newcastle, with the weather being like that. Yeah. Trucks and mist and stuff like that. But we got through, managed to get through. And I arrived in Durban in the early hours of the morning. And when it came to the morning, the early visiting hours, and prior to visiting hours, I went, saw my son, and it was the worst thing ever to see him in that day. He could literally not move, kind of thing, just stiff as ever. We managed to speak to him, and with all that, he uttered a few words, and I found out from my wife, where's the site? Like, I need to see the site and where it happened and everything. She told me, all I know, it's in Unit 10 Park, and you'll see a tree that's broken. This is where he was, like, this is where the car landed. And in all that, my son's phone, which it was like his pride and joy kind of thing, and he needed it. And all he could think of is uttering a few words that he needed that phone. And I said, "You know what? I don't know." So I picked up the phone, my phone, got the tow truck driver, and I told him, "Please, have you found a phone of his? And there's a couple of other things, his IDs and stuff like that, that he needs from the car." They said they searched the car and it's not, it's not there. But they told me what you can do is probably go to the site. Got to the site and I was alone, and it was actually very lonely, very quiet, nobody around. And I got there and I started looking. It seemed very unsafe, and I said, what, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. So anyway, I started searching, I started looking, I found one or two of his items, and I started gathering them together. And I could see somebody coming into the park, and with a bakkie as well. So I was very hesitant. It was actually my brother-in-law that was there. So I felt much braver that we stood together there. We started looking for his phone, tracked the route from where the car was, going up. Got to the road. Initially, you wouldn't believe it. Got to the road and I looked at it, and with brother-in-law and I, in my mind I said, I don't know how he made it out of this here. It was literally about 500 meters off the road. He skidded off on a patch of water, and he left the road, and the car somersaulted all the way back down to the tree. But then when I got to the top of the road, and I just looked up, and I looked across the road, and there it was Swami. Swami was literally looking at me. It was a Sai school that this happened. It happened right opposite the Sai school. And I remember telling my brother-in-law, I told him, what? This is who saved Cameron. And that was that. And and further to that, the tow truck driver told us, what? They had been parked off on that evening, because the weather was terrible. So they remain stationary at a point, and they don't patrol the highway. And this was off the highway, and it was in a very remote spot. When it's dark, nobody can actually see this. But this tow truck driver told us that he got a call that there's an accident that happened, and there's a car in the park, and that's how they got to get to the site. So
it's definitely
tells us,
Swami showing us that he'll never forsake us. He's always there.
Definitely.
Yeah. On the lighter side, what would you say is the most humorous moment you've ever witnessed at a Sai event?
Well, coming back to the lighter side, it was one of my first Swami's attendance to Swami's birthday celebrations. And it was the MC this is where I picked up Sai humor for the very first time. So the MC were busy discussing what was going to happen, and he started off with a joke. I don't know if you heard this, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Sure.
So there was a devotee that grew his hair for months. It was long, grew his hair for months. And he decided that he was only going to have an haircut when he gets to Prashanti. And he will only want Swami to cut his hair. Right? So anyway, he got to Prashanti. And he managed to speak to one of the Sevadals, and he told the Sevadals what his intentions were. So the Sevadal managed to get the message to Swami. And then Swami told the Sevadal, please tell the devotee that I am Baba, I am not Baba. So reliving one of those things, that was one of my very first jokes that I've heard.
I'm sure you have many more, but between you and Auntie Sheila, I think we'll have a competition. So, do you think, also going back to seriousness a little bit, do you think sometimes we take spirituality too seriously, especially in the Sai organization?
Sometimes, Brother Dineshwan. Swami has often emphasized that spirituality should lead to joy, not strain. When practiced with love and humility and a sense of surrender, spirituality becomes a natural and uplifting and deeply fulfilling way of life. But when it becomes too rigid, and you overly self-critical or obsessed with doing the right thing, we risk the essence of the path, which is love, peace, and unity. So Swami doesn't want us to be grim about this whole thing, right? We shouldn't be guilt rhythm seekers. Right? He wants us to laugh. He wants us to serve, love, and live with compassion. So being too serious, we tend to lose the sight of joy that's meant to be with us.
You know, speaking on speaking on how we take spirituality too serious, right? What would you share with devotees to bring more lightness into their sadhana and their seva?
Brother Dinesh, I think firstly we need to understand that sadhana and seva should not be looked at as an obligation. Right? Swami often emphasized that spiritual practice and selfless service should not feel like burdens, right? But rather expressions of love, joy, and unity with the divine. Right? Love is the basis of all principles, spiritual disciplines, right? So approaching seva as a task that needs to be completed should not be looked at that. It should be looked at as an offering of love to God in others, right? When love is the motive, obviously joy follows through naturally. Lightness comes when we release attachment to the outcomes, right? Praise and recognition and being egotistical should not be anyway in that. We should serve in the spirit of I am the instrument, not the doer. Right? When we see God in the person that we serve or in the mantra that we chant, even like mundane acts becomes joyous acts of worship. Right? Swami never wanted us to walk the path of spirituality with burden hearts. Right? He wanted us to be light. He wanted us to be loving and free. So
you said that love is the foundation, right?
Yeah.
For those who might be struggling to smile today, what message would you like to give them?
Okay, let's look at this firstly. Life is short, right? Let's smile while we've got teeth. Right, but that's on the lighter side.
Yes.
But looking at it more
deeper
into it. Okay, let's look at it in a sense that I can remember sort of a saying that said, nothing that you wear is more important than your smile. Right? I imagine you dressed up to the best, got the best watch, best shoes, and as Swami would say, keep your castor oil face on. Imagine going into a function like that. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, all that glitz and glamour just goes away kind of thing, because the talk would be, look at that person, you know. But in saying that as well, I've got it. While saying that, I've got another little saying that I remember is like, smile not because life is free of pain, but because you trust that Swami is walking with you. Right? So, I mean, it doesn't cost us anything to smile, but yet it means so much to others that need it.
Definitely, I hear you. Especially sometimes you'll be going through the most, and just simple like greeting by somebody and just a smile can just lift you up. You know,
lift you up. I mean, it changes the
whole energy
yes. Around. Yeah.
Also, they say for the sisters out there, they say that the smile is the best makeup you can wear. So there's that. And finally, we've come to the end of the segment. But in your own words, how would you describe your Sai in 100 years of Sai?
Brother Dinesh, I think Sai has become my way of life. Right? Nothing, no important decisions, no tasks. Nothing is done before offering it to Swami. Right? this is what I live by these days. And the challenges that I've been through, Swami has always come through for me. And he has always shown me that he is there. You know, the saying, have no fear and march on. Yeah, I live by those principles. And to date, I'm ever so grateful and thankful to Swami for granting his blessings, granting his grace to my family and I. And Swami right now means everything to me, especially what I've been through. And I'm ever so grateful to you. Yeah.
Well, we are also grateful to Swami, for having you and for having you on the show as well. I just like to take this time to say, thank you, Br Gino, for reminding us that along with discipline and dedication, the Sai path is also one of joy, laughter, and lightfulness. Your stories show us that Swami's love is not only in the profound moments, but also in the simple smiles and the shared happiness that keep our hearts connected to him, especially no matter what tragedies we've gone through. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Brother Dineshan, for giving me this opportunity in reliving my very first moments with Sai.
Jai Sai Ram.
Jai Sai Ram.